hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Iconic Effect interview series. So thrilled again that you are here with us. Another exquisite day of interviews. We're going to be speaking with Steph, Cowling Rich this morning in about 10 minutes-ish. And then later this afternoon, Trisha Bolender. So welcome. I see some new folks here. I see some familiar faces here. So thank you for being here. One of the most delicious aspects of this interview series, and really what we were kind of trying to experiment with, is giving folks the opportunity to connect with these icons, these folks that I just hold in such high regard. So they are, good morning, good morning, good morning. They are all, giving up their time. So it's just fantastic. I'm so grateful that they have done so. Please, though, get your questions answered by these folks. I have a couple of questions that have come in from folks who aren't going to be able to make the calls today. So I've got some of those questions, but just make sure that you bring whatever you have. This is an opportunity to really connect with these people. So I'm going to go ahead and share the I've got a couple of slides just to frame up what's happening today. Leslie, if you could give me sharing permissions, that would be fantastic. And so for some of you who have been here for all of these days, there's new information about the 2 iconic identities for today. And if you are new to the space, then you will appreciate the context. All right, I'm going to need sharing permissions. It has been an interesting week of tech challenges. I'm not going to lie. We have also had, I didn't have internet for the first couple of days, like the first 2 days. So I was off my cell phone. I mean, we'll see what happens now. Okay, so I don't have sharing permissions for some reason. So Amber, Leslie, if you can get that for me, I'll just go ahead and just give you a bit of an overlay, a little sense of what we're here for. Really, the foundational reason, like the sort of the thesis statement that I've been working with here is, I've said this lots of different times, it's the self-development space is a $42 billion industry, which is a lot of money invested in people feeling lousy about themselves. So I live inside the hypothesis, what if the thing that you felt was challenging about yourself was actually your leadership edge? And it's sort of through that perspective that I came out with this iconic work. Because you can't spell iconic without IC twice, meaning the imposter complex is going to get you coming and it's going to get you going. And so these icons that we've been speaking with over the last couple of days are really imparting and sharing, where their own imposter complex showed up at the precipice of their expansion and where it continues to be a traveling companion with them. So just a couple of overarching house rules. Leslie and Amber are in the room to help hold up the sides of the process. Thank you for being here, Leslie and Amber. We are recording, so you can go back and listen back to these calls. We're also going to share them as part of a podcast series down the road, but we have had tons of people registering. So if you're listening to this later on, welcome. Hope you still feel met by this kind of format. And you will also have access to these replays, at the end of the day. Staff audio until further notice. It has not been a super chatty group anyway, but I digress. Please stay off audio until the Q&A section, and then feel free to go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask the question. I've found most people are a little shyer to do so. Totally fine. If you're in a group program with me, I'd be like, come on, say what you got to say. But here in this space where we don't have context and we don't really have contained presence the way I would normally set up, if you're more comfortable just DMing me or DMing somebody on my team, by all means, go ahead and send us those questions and we will get to them at the end of my time speaking with my beloved Steph Cowling, which is just about to join us, which is so fantastic. So yeah, again, I keep saying this and it's just not catching on yet, but I'm going for an inside the actor's studio vibe. So please avail yourself of the brilliance that have gathered here. So please, please, please ask your questions. And feel free to share your learnings using the hashtag iconic identities. That way we can find you and amplify what you have been learning. And we do have closed captioning as an option. So you should be able to see those controls on your Zoom link. Zoom dashboard is what I mean to say there. So again, this whole series is about interviewing folks that I see are icons. Alain de Botton is a British thinky person, talks about proximity and talks about the ways in which we, we are inspired, how we are not inspired by people that we pedestalize. And I have a lot of, big body of work around the idea of projections and when we put somebody on a pedestal, what happens then? And so I'd rather not be talking to folks that you put on a pedestal. I'd rather talk to folks that you admire and you recognize yourself in them. So that is the intention here, is for you to see yourself in these icons, their stories. A little bit about me. I am a leadership coach, TEDx women's speaker. I have a program I'm fiercely proud of called Your Iconic Impact. I'd be delighted to talk to you about it if it's something that's calling you forth. I work and live on the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat people. And since 2007, I have worked with thousands of people individually and spoken to tens of thousands. Been at this for some time, so I've seen it, much of it. My other premise is that we need to stop blaming individuals and holding systems accountable for the ways in which the imposter complex shows up, the ways in which it colludes with diminishment and perfectionism and comparison and all of these aspects that we've been talking about over the series. And I think it's also really important that I acknowledge the lens from which I approach this work as a white, neurotypical, able-bodied woman of middle-class means living in North America. So I always name that because I think it's important to acknowledge that we may be in the same shared space, not having the same shared experience. And so part of my desire is to connect you with other folks too that might be more appropriate teachers for you in this realm. So we've already spoken, so I think I can now share my screen. Let me go ahead and do so. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you who have just joined us. We have spoken with Asha Frost and Greg Potter. That was on Monday. Mara and Marie was yesterday. Today we get Steph, Cowling, Rich, and Trisha Belender. So please come back and join us at 12 today. We have changed times a couple of times because of different time zones. Steph's joining me on, I think Steph is the only person who's joined me on my time zone, Eastern time zone, but we've had, Greg was in South Africa and Trisha is in Luxembourg. So we've been trying to do the best that we can. So sorry for the confusion about today at noon. So we're talking about iconic identities, which then I feel is instrumental in understanding before you can move into creating iconic impact and then ultimately iconic legacy. So really, if you've been here for a while, you've seen this, where people pleasing for me underscores the value of inclusivity, which shows us the host identity. Leaky boundaries invites us to consider our generosity, which indicates a healer identity. Comparison, really, as Marie spoke about so beautifully yesterday, is all about this value of connection, and that invites the maven identity, which again is part of the reason I've done this series as well, because I wanted to tap into my own maven and connect people. It's a part of myself that I haven't really been paying much attention to, and that's what this work is. What are the identities that we all hold that we want a little more attention? Diminishment can really point to our value of humility, and which indicates the value of the visionary. Mara did a gorgeous job of talking about how she brings visionary into all aspects of her life, not just her extraordinary work as a coach. And then procrastination can really underscore this beautiful value of discernment, which is what we're going to be talking about this morning, which invites the sage identity. And then finally, this afternoon, we're going to be talking about perfectionism and how that really reflects a value of excellence, and that invites us to consider the CEO. Okay, so again, that's how we're framing all of this up. So we spoke about integrity on day one. Day two is about presence, and this is the framework that I'm working within, where integrity invites us to consider authenticity, loyalty to vision, and how well we're honoring our word to ourselves. And when these are compromised, this is where people pleasing and leaky boundaries will probably show up. When we are out of sync with our own sense of power, when we are out of right relationship with power, then or we are not able to ask for or receive support, and we're not holding ourselves with a quality of reverence, presence can be compromised. And this is where diminishment and comparison will likely show up. And if we're not taking decisive action because maybe we're not willing to fail, or cultivating that willingness to fail, or cultivating the sense of resilience or tenacity, we might stay out of action, which is where the procrastination and perfectionism can show up. Okay. Big concepts. That's what we're doing here. We can hold a multitude. So we're going to talk very quickly about procrastination, and we're going to explore this a little bit more. So this just kind of contextualizes what Steph and I are going to be talking about. If you did the iconic identity quiz, tanyageisler.com/quiz, let's see if you could pop that in the chat, that'd be fantastic. And you got the sage as your identity, as the iconic identity, you might have felt some kind of way, and I'll probably ask Steph about that. But discernment is your superpower. It is absolutely your superpower. When folks are busy barreling forward, you use that power to vet context, and you appreciate the intricacies of nuance. Yeah? You are thoughtful, you are deliberate, and you make excellent decisions born of due diligence. And the way you move invites us to do the same, which is such a gift, particularly as we are barreling forward. And be wary that procrastination does not derail you. You have plenty of time to get everything done, and not all the time in the world. Whew. Every time I think about that, that is the truth of it, right? Plenty of time and not all the time in the world. So if you are the sage, do not forget to do your due diligence. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Please, please, please. Through that context and allow for deeper exploration of nuance. Absolument. And get into action. These are some of my favorite sages. Time is now. The time is now is the mantra for the sage. Okay. Quick overview on what we're going to talk about this afternoon. Hi, Steph. We're going to talk very quickly about perfectionism, just to again set it up for this afternoon. If you did the quiz and you got the CEO, or you were curious about the CEO when you saw that as a potential option, this is, excellence incarnate, like pure and simple. Your iconic identity of CEO means that you have extraordinarily strong value of impeccability, and yearn for proficiency in all matters that matter. You operate at a high level and invite others to rise up to meet you. So you hold yourself with really high standards, invite others to as well. But this desire for excellence can tip over into perfectionism quite easily. Perfectionism can be an exhausting tyrant, and it's also the very first characteristic Tima Okun did when Tima Okun was exploring the white supremacy culture characteristics. That was the very first piece, perfectionism. So it's an integral piece of white supremacy culture characteristics. Patriarchy too. Just saying. So if it's something we're looking to divest from, we need to be super cognizant of where this continues to show up for us. So CEOs, if you got the CEO identity, don't forget that CEOs ship even when they don't feel 100% ready. hey, I get it. CEO, really fraught language, right? Like, because it feels so big, feels like so very, very much. And they know to ship even before they are not 100% ready. They know that they are probably ready enough. They've probably done some of that due diligence. They know that perfectionism stifles creativity and innovation. And they also know that there are beautiful places, that imperfection holds beautiful places of opportunities to iterate and to do better. Can't go it alone. Can't go it alone. Must gather best kind of support. And that's why they hire the best and brightest in theory. Trisha, for me, is a beautiful example of the kind of CEO I hold in regard. So that's where we're going. Oh yeah, for the mantra of the CEO, there's no true right or wrong way. There's no true, right? There's no such thing as there. And it's interesting. I work with a lot of women engineers, a lot of engineers, but largely women. And so we can get kind of mathematical about what perfection actually is. For the most part, there is no true right or wrong way. And dial this down a bit. Remember that as a CEO, your clients or your colleagues or your reports actually aren't expecting perfection from you. They're expecting results for them, right? Like we really put that on ourselves. But they want to be better for their interactions with you. They're not expecting it from you. Okay. This one too. It's also okay to not want to have to operate at such a high level all the time. And this is, I think, is a riveting theme throughout all of these iconic identities. So much of our attachment to them has everything to do with how we are seen or perceived. So who am I if not perfect all the time? Who am I if not the sage, the one who has to be discerning all the time? What if I want to just swing out and see what happens, right? So this is also the part of, with these identities, hold them, allow them to draw you forward. Do not allow them to be the only definitions of you. There are places to explore. All right, that's what I got for you. I'm excited for this conversation with Steph, of course. Please join us later today with Trisha, and then tomorrow, day 4, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be bringing this all together and serving up something delicious for you all. So hope you will join me then too. Without further ado, I am so thrilled, so delighted, so honored to get to introduce you to my friend, somebody I admire deeply, a former client, Steph Cowling Rich. Steph, for me, something that lives on Steph's heart is the idea of the well-nourished woman. The care that Steph offers up the folks that she mentors always actually like feel it in my throat. Really, I feel very touched by it. I feel very met by it. When you are in Steph's presence, you will get that sense of contained presence. You will get that sense of everything that is being, some big projections coming up here, Steph. Woo! But you will get that she is running everything through the rubric of analysis, of context. She's listening for nuance. She is a sage, pure, and her care is absolutely unparalleled. And I'm thrilled that you are here to represent the sages. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, everybody. Tanya, you're going to make me cry.
Okay. Okay. I just hope you feel met because, yeah. And look what I wore just for you.
I know. I knew you did. I knew you did. You look wonderful. I'm so
I want you to feel
grateful
honored. I want you to feel honored. You deserve nothing less than to feel honored. You're taking time out of your, like, literally, like, you've got the door probably barricaded. You've got some minds and hearts that are like hungry for your time and attention. You are here with us. So folks, please make sure that you make this very precious time with Steph worth your while. Get your questions answered. We're going to have a lovely conversation for about the next 30 minutes, and then we're going to open up for your questions. So do just like bring them on. We've got capacity. Steph, hi.
Hi.
You know what I love? You can even feel it right now. Steph like knows how to just sort of drop in, take care. That's so beautiful. Most of us don't really know how to do that. And that's how you show up to every single space. That has been my experience of you.
Mm. Mm.
So as you hear me talk about the sage, what comes up for you? How does it resonate?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it still feel dissonant?
Mm-hmm.
What's your relationship with the sage?
Can I say too, being on a slide with Pema and Belle, I was like, Tanya, girl, aspirational. I think the piece around discernment makes a lot of sense. Part of my work as an educator and as a facilitator is very much about what is present, what is said, but what's underneath what is said, right? Being able to feel the energies in a space, being able to discern what is truly present and naming that. And so I think, I was, as in preparation for this conversation, I thought, I don't know if I would give myself the title of sage. I think that has to come from someone else. And specifically, if folks see that you have some sort of wisdom and your ability to discern, that has to come elsewhere. I'm not going to put that on me. So I feel honored that you see me in that way. I think part of how I've been cultivating that sense of discernment and trying to access that sage aspect in myself is really having continuous check-in and continuous opportunity to think about what is true, what can I see, right, with all of my senses, and what am I feeling, what am I knowing. One of the pieces that I know you mentioned earlier in the call that I navigate, and that's a challenge for me, is when it's time to move, sometimes it takes a little bit to actually make that happen, right? I can know something, but it might take me a little while. And you know that. This is something that, you and I have worked through, and even the time that you and I have been together, I've been watching your work and involved in your work for many years, but then just participating in your iconic identity program this past fall. And I think sometimes I work through balancing that place of what do I know is true? And then when is the right time to move forward? Because I can know something and sit on it for a while. I don't know if other folks on the call feel this too, but I can sit on it for a while and then all of a sudden it's like, go now, this is the time. And so figuring out where is that moment when I actually need to move, and I needed to move 10 weeks ago, but I didn't do it. And what do I need that's going to help me to shift that? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. I do. And what have you discovered?
Yeah. I think for me, finding really trusted folks who I can be able to share, here's what I'm seeing and knowing, that can be able to say, all right, but now's the time to act on it then. You've been saying this, now's the time.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, it's determining what do I need to have in place so that I'm ready to make this decision. So an example that comes to mind is I'll be enrolling in a master's in social work program in the fall. It's been a dream for years, y'all. Years, years, years. And really through our program, through our work together, there was this sense of what is the vision of the work? It's not just, I want to pursue this graduate program. What's the vision of the work that I want to do? And how does this path support me? And truly, the way that you held space, Tanya, in our program helped me to see, oh, no, 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 now is the time.
Mm.
Now is the time. I'm ready. I will figure it out. I have a wonderful, supportive husband. I have friends and family who are encouraging me, and I can figure this out. I can
Mm.
figure this out. Do you know?
Mhm. 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 What I heard you say just there was, it's a question of vision. It's also a question of containers, not even
Yes.
necessarily capacity, but like, what are the containers that will uphold this? Would you say that's about right?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And I think, truth be told, I think sometimes we can have a vision on our heart for many years, but not be ready to bring it out into the world, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's also
Mhm.
about knowing what's going to support
Yeah.
you and being able to take the steps you need to take, whether it's having the financial pieces in place that need to be able to support you, whether it's having the emotional capacity, whether it's having the support team that's going to help you navigate when you're dealing with inner
Mhm.
critic stuff that comes up,
Mhm.
when you're dealing with your perfectionism stuff that comes up,
Mhm.
when you're dealing with your fears. I think, we talk about this with the well-nourished woman. So much of this is about, what does it look like to be deeply supported and
Mhm.
deeply cared for?
Mhm.
How do we do it in a way that's not like, I'm gonna scrape and figure this out, but how do I do it in a way that I feel cushioned, met, held? And that, I think, I know that's something that I have, it's a learning curve. That's the space that I'm working towards. That's really on my heart is, yeah, I can do it, and not get sleep and stress and have to scrape with my energy. But how do I do it in a way that actually I feel deeply supported? I feel deeply seen. I feel deeply cared for. Even, I think, opening up ourselves to that question, if I want to make a change, or if I want to create something in the world, if I want to be able to move up higher in my leadership opportunities, whatever it might be, I want to create the kind of family that I want to create, right? How do I do it in a way that feels deeply met, cared for, supported? Just bringing in that question is like, oh, suddenly, suddenly new things can start coming forth, even if it's small, even if it's small.
Mm. This is every single time had one of these conversations, I completely lose myself. That's why I will never be podcast host will never be my vocation, because I'm just like right in here with you. I'm just absolutely right in here with you. One of the things that I make up, so in your day to day, you spend a lot of time with students, right? You mentor students,
I do.
and these humans have amped up sense of urgency all the time, right? Like all the time. And I make up, and I want to talk a bit more about, way more about well-nourished woman, to be certain, but I do make up that you have a cool hand on a fevered brow kind of impact with these folks. How do you invite more of that discernment? I mean, we all feel it with your energy. There's that, bottom line. How do you help them though decide when it is time, when it's go time, and when it's time for deeper analysis, reflection, evaluation, discernment?
Yeah, I love that question. And I also am very blessed and grateful to be able to work with the students that I work with and with my colleagues that I create programs for. So I want to say that. I think Everyone is different, and the work is learning the person, which you know this, Tanya. This is you, boo. It's how do I, one, it's where do you want to go? I talk to my students about this is a journey. I almost envision it like we're walking through the forest. Here we are at the edge of the forest. We're walking through to get to wherever you're trying to go. And I've been through the forest before, so I know where there's some pitfalls. I know where there's some spaces we can rest. I know where there's some milestones we want to touch. But my job is to walk with you. How are you feeling through this experience? What's coming up for you? What's getting a little bit tricky and complicated? Where are you feeling challenged? And then where are the resources to help you? Because you don't have to do it by yourself, right? I'm here with you and I want to be with you, right? Reminding you, where are you trying to go? Are we still going there? Or are we changing our mind and doing something different? And so for me, the work is really, it's a few different levels, right? I have a sense of here are the desired goals and outcomes of where my students, or in some cases, our advising professionals want to be. Here are the goals that we have for our programs of where we want folks to end up. But the ways that people get there are going to look very, very different. And my work is to continuously affirm you, to celebrate the habits, the practices, the beliefs that are going to support you and acknowledge your growth, acknowledge your movements, acknowledge your small wins, which you talk about all the time, Tanya. Acknowledge your strengths so that as we're continuously moving towards that goal, it's actually that journey, it's actually that process that's helping to lift you up, that's helping to fill you up, that's helping to nourish you. To remind you, look at where you were, look at where you are now. And yes, you may have had a setback because we all do. It might look different, but we all have it. Now, how are we going to move forward? What have you learned about yourself?
Do your students, how do you talk to your students about procrastination? Because procrastination in and of itself, there's so much shame that sits inside of that. There's so much self-flagellation that sits inside of that. Like, I did it again, I did it again, I did it again. Like, how do you help them? How do you help like folks that you work with? Like, just in general, how do you speak to people about what procrastination is or isn't?
Ooh, what it is or isn't. I think we got to look at it as neutral as we can. Because of course, if someone is coming in and saying, I have something that I need to do or that I want to do, but I'm not making progress, just like you said, there's shame often underneath that. But I think what we have to do is interrogate it. What's happening? Why are you not moving forward? Why are you not taking the steps that you want to take? What is a small baby step towards that direction that you can do today? Who can support you? How can I support you? You want me to send you a reminder every week? You want me to send you those affirmations on Saturdays when you're going to study and prepare? Do you want to circle back to the vision that you had? Let's meet next week and circle back and talk about it. Because I think so much of it is like, it can be really big. What if you feel like I want to do something, I want to make a progress towards a goal, I want to create something, I want to have this experience, but I'm not doing it. To me, that gap is a space of like, well, that's where we have to do some reflection and some introspection. What's going on? With no judgment, right? Because when the judgment comes in, then it gets real tight and sticky, as opposed to being able to say, okay, wait. I want to do this. I'm feeling scared, or I don't know how to do it, or I have so many things that I have to do to get this thing done. It feels overwhelming,
Yep.
right? So let's see what comes up when we talk about why you're not moving forward. Then let's look at it together. Let's pull it apart. It's almost like a ball of yarn when it's all tight. Everything is all
Yeah.
mixed and muddled. It's like, no, 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 let's pull it apart. What's a small step? Who's somebody else we can talk to?
Mhm.
Can we bring in someone else that has a similar goal that might be able to support you?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's, you know what, let's take a break.
Mm.
Maybe right now, maybe it's okay to not move forward today.
Maybe it's okay to not move forward today. Maybe there's some maybe there's some wisdom in there. Yeah, thank you. And again, the coming back to why is this important in the first place? Why we're in the woods, like what is over there? Like how really, really reconnecting back with that. But yeah, that's so what's actually going on. Uh, when have you done something like what can you build upon? Because if it is fear of not being able to get it done, like what is it that you can build upon? What is proximal to this? And then who's around? I'm so grateful that you keep bringing in this idea of support, to bolster the container, because oftentimes we can think about the sage as this, it's like very individualistic, like sort of like just off to the side,
Sure.
sort of solo. But I'm like, I just so appreciate hearing your relationship with, this rugged individuals and bullshit, right? Like it's like that's not the thing. That's not how we become more well-nourished. Can we
Mm.
talk about a well-nourished woman? Tell us about her.
Mm. Ah,
Watering seeds.
yeah, yes, yes, yes. The well-nourished woman is well fed in all the ways that we're fed. She feels seen. She feels known and she feels valued. She's rested. She goes through struggles because this is part of life, but also is resourced within herself and with others in her community. She knows where she comes from. And as a result, uses that knowledge to fill herself up to move towards where she's headed. She's not confused that there will be obstacles because she knows what this life is, right?
Mhm.
And yet she also knows that there are ways to be gentle while she moves through
Mhm.
and be cared for while she moves through.
This is your work. I mean, let there be zero doubt in that.
Mm.
Did not know that I needed to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you, what does it mean to feel seen, known? What does it mean to feel seen and known? And then here's the big question. How do we get that? How do we allow ourselves to be seen and known? Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, because that is vulnerable. And and I know there's been times where I've thought it was a safe space to feel seen and known, and then it's not, and that can be that much more terrifying, especially if you know if you have sort of a harder shell and then you open up your soft middle and suddenly something comes in.
Mhm.
I think, hmm, feeling seen for me, feeling known for me is being deeply listened to, being understood for where I'm headed and what's been important to me. It feels feeling seen and feeling known is also a soft landing to crack, to break open. I have two little ones. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old who are very demanding, right? Little ones are demanding. So to feel seen and known in the midst of mothering means I have folks I can say, let me tell you what just happened. And they can be there and hear me and say, you're doing a good job. It's all right. Right? I think it's being recognized for the efforts that we make, whether it's personal or professional, and feeling affirmed in that. I think it's whew, someone literally saying, I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you keep coming. I'm so glad you stay here when you may have other things going on that make it hard for you to show up, but you're here.
Mm.
I'm so glad. Feeling important, whatever space we occupy, whether it's home, work, friendships, community, being recognized
Mm.
as a whole human, you know?
Mm. Woo! Mm. I have very little doubt that you do the work that you do, um, MSW, mentorship, well-nourished woman, um, in huge part because of your gifts, the sage that you are, the sage that you bring, and also your ongoing acknowledgement of the container that you hold around you. So I don't want anybody to miss on this call that you, when I was talking about your work, the first thing you did was to acknowledge your students, your colleagues, like the sanctity of the container. I know it's not perfect. I know there are days you're like table flip and
Mhm.
another gun, coffee mug in the sink, like all of those frustrations. But you are able to be seen and received and valued because of the way you show up.
Mm.
Right? It doesn't, that's not a, there's no accident there. You allow yourself to be seen and to be received. Um, even as there have been these moments of pain when you reveal and people aren't
Yes.
quite ready for it.
Yeah.
But I really think that these are ongoing relationships that you cultivate, your ongoing appreciation for all that is around, all that does hold up the sides of your life, your um, challenges, your successes, your like all of it.
Mm.
I really see that. What is, ooh, I did not see this coming. But you love stories.
I do love stories.
Is there a story of someone? Is there a story of a sage that you have that
Mm.
you? I know I really should have asked you. That's a shitty thing. I really should have asked you that in advance, knowing how much you adore
Mm.
a good story. Um, so I'll just let your like work away on that for a hot second. Um, what is the gift of the sage? That's what I can ask you.
Yeah. Mm.
Y'all see what it just did, right? Poor Steph was like, oh, two doors.
Well, so one of my favorite texts that Tanya I've shared with you and other folks may be familiar as well is Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes' Women Who Run with Wolves, which was written in 1992. So some time ago, but I actually think of her as a sage, right? She's a Jungian analyst, and she brings in the gift of myths, folklores, fairy tales from all over the world to help us pull apart some of the key aspects of being the wild woman. What does it mean to be the wild, wise woman? And so I think the gift of the sage truly is the gift of being able, I'm going to say it like this, to see our lives on multiple levels, to think about ourselves, the people that we love, the people that we're in community with, and all of the complexities, and to create from there, right? To create from there, to have the vision of what it is you want to create, and to know when it's time to act, because you know it. You know it when you know it.
Mhm.
And to surround yourself with the people, with the energies, with the plants, with the animals, with the spirit guides, whatever your particular tradition, right? That's going to uplift, that's going to nourish, that's going to remind you of who you are and where you come from and where you're headed, and to create from that place. That's the gift.
Oh, I did not see that coming. Did not see. I mean, I saw brilliance coming. I did not know that that was going to hit me as the way that hit me. What you remind me of for myself is, of all of the different iconic identities, the sage is the one that I feel most outside of myself. I'm a quick start, get shit done. But some more of that, please. Some more of that. Thank you. Also, dear listener, did you? Yeah, I'm actually feeling weepy too, Yolanda. Did you all also catch that? I sent her off in two different directions. She's like, okay, Tanya, guys, I see what you did there. Let me take these two braids. Let me take these two disparate strands. Let me weave them together and pull in a third. And just get up inside your, oh my goodness, just absolutely exquisite. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. What I also really, I feel like, and of course, as you know, this comes up through my work all the time, talking about reverence as it relates to presence. But what I really got there was, can we hold ourselves with enough reverence to see that gift, to allow ourselves to invite an exploration of these complexities, to invite an exploration of these multiple levels and layers, because they are worthy of exploration.
Yes,
That's
come on.
reverence.
Yeah, that's such a powerful recognition, right? Is I think you and I have had this conversation. Sometimes I think we can see our lives and think, oh, it's not, you know, anything particularly special. I don't know if y'all feel this, but sometimes that's something that I navigate, right?
Mm.
But I think that there's something in every single life, right? It's like, what am I learning about who I am, my relationship to the natural world, my relationship to the social world, my relationship to these larger institutions? What are the stories and the myths that lift me?
Mm.
What are the beliefs that like infuse how I move through my space, right? Like every life is so rich. It's so rich. There's such complexity. There's such like this tapestry of all that's come through. And part of what, when we think about the well-nourished woman, is how does she honor that tapestry when, the social forces you named of patriarchy and racism and ableism and sexism, right? All of these forces that would have us think you are not good enough. Your life is not being careful and gentle towards. You are not enough. All these forces that just push and push and pressure. And how do we, no, even if it's just to start, just us giving that space to unwrap and say, all right, what is my life?
Mm.
I'm right here. Let me see, what is this? What am I learning? Who am I? What is important to just me, right?
Whew. The tapestry, how do you honor the tapestry? And then also what I got so clearly was also dance with it,
Yeah.
right? Like you dance and sing. And I mean, just is that's part of it too, right? It's that there's such profound joy in that. There can be such profound joy in that if we
I
allow
know.
that to be so.
Yeah. We have to be so gentle though, because
Mm.
I know for myself, and Tanya, you and I have worked on this. We've talked about this. I talk about this with my therapist as well. There's some grief too to dance with, and that's not always easy, right? Like,
Oh,
how do we be with the losses and the
God.
deep disappointments and the grievings, right? Because that's in the tapestry too.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's in it
Ding, ding, ding.
too. How do we hold that with care in the timing that we need to hold it? Because sometimes it's like, move on from the disappointment,
Oh,
move
God.
on from the grief, move on from the loss. And it's like, no, 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 wait, 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 wait. Even if I'm the only one right now to give it some care, I'm going to give it some care
Right.
because I'm worth that. We're worth that, right?
This is so two things came up from thank you. Yes. And for anybody not familiar with my work, one of the cornerstone pieces that we talk about is what your brand of joy is. And so everybody has a different word for what I experience as joy. I just call mine joy because that's what I know it to be. But for me, I need to feel connection and gratitude and generosity. But it's not this ebullience necessarily, because I can feel that I can feel joy inside of profound grief because I understand it to be generosity and gratitude and connection.
Yes.
And you made me think about this, about that the the word I came up with that I was thinking about was legacy. Right before we hopped on this call, I just signed up for a $49 workshop on writing your legacy letter after you pass. And holy doodle, just even thinking about it. This is
Yeah.
with Willow End of Life. Anyway, just there's because it's just something I want to get ahead of. My perfectionist wants me to do this dying thing right, but also just really thinking about what those pieces of my life are. What are those stories that I really still want to tell about my own unraveling, my conditioning, unraveling the narratives that is worthy of it. And whether I ever send that to anybody or not, it's for myself. I'm it's weeks away, and I'm feeling all sorts of kinds of ways about it, and I'm excited about it. But that also feels like that piece of reverence too.
Yes. Well, I think there's something so powerful in loving your life and also remembering it's going to end for all of us.
Mhm.
So, how do we live it in a way that's in alignment? Oof. How do we live it in a way that's in alignment?
Oh my goodness. Steph Cowling Rich. You just, what an honor to get to be here with you. Hey, everybody, you have questions for Steph? We have to release her back into
Yeah.
her big, beautiful world, because she's got people who are like, wait, I need more of you. Um, where is it best for folks to be finding you? And please, folks, pop your questions into the chat or DM me, and I'll go ahead and ask. I do have a question that came in earlier. So Steph, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, just stephcowling.com. That's
Mhm.
a great place. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Steph Cowling. Those are the two best places right now.
Okay. The question is about FOMO. I believe that FOMO doesn't work because you can't rush a sage. Do you agree? See, like that would be like if I could buy like all hands on deck. If FOMO was if you were exempt, I'd be like, give me all the sage.
That's such a funny question to me. I think so. I'm also very introverted, y'all.
Mm.
So I don't experience FOMO very often, I'll be honest with you.
Mm.
Part of me thinks I'm where I need to be when I'm there. And if I'm not there, then I don't need to be there. I think the only times that I've had, bye Karen, thanks for
Hi,
being
Karen.
here. The only times that I've felt it is when I've missed out specifically on opportunities with family. I live across the country from my immediate and extended family, my sisters and aunties and cousins and my parents. And so those are the times, because family is a really important core piece of how I feel grounded in this world. But I often feel like I am where I need to be. And if I'm not feeling pulled or called to a place or to an opportunity, then it's not the right fit.
So a lot of the other, so many of these, the procrastination, the perfectionism, diminishment, comparison, leaky boundaries, people pleasing, for me, so many of these and how they intersect with the imposter complex has everything to do with how relational they are. And so sometimes the focus can be extrinsic. So that's the link that I'm making with this next question that came in, is does the sage doesn't seem to need a lot of external validation or affirmation. Would you say that that is true?
I think not a lot, but I think they need it from the right person and the right folks. I'll say that I do.
Yeah, that's great.
I need it from the folks that I respect, that I value, that I see as mentors. And if I don't get that, then I'm feeling that loss. But I need it from the folks who I am looking to for guidance, who are on, as you described, Tanya, our board of directors, right? It's like those folks are the ones that I need that affirmation and validation. Because again, that connects to legacy. That connects to why I'm here, remembering where I come from and where I'm headed, right?
Yeah. For folks who want to potentially explore the work that Steph has referenced so generously, we can get on a call and chat about it, and there will be links in the follow-up emails as well. What Steph, you just finished saying, really you're talking about your people, and this is something we talk about, like not everybody wants you to succeed. That's just the truth of it, right? So like, how rhetorically sound is this criticism? How rhetorically sound is this critique? How rhetorically sound is this affirmation? So I think that's so much exquisite discernment in that. And often, and I wish I had it right here, and I don't, and I usually do, but Nayura Wahid's poem, This Is How You Know, is, and I'm just terrified I'm going to butcher it, but I feel like I probably know it by heart at this point. Some people, when they hear your story, expand, and other people, upon hearing your story, contract. And this is how you know.
Ooh, that gave me all the shivers in my scalp.
Right?
Because this is how you know.
So you know.
Come on. Come on.
Come on.
That's like the central piece.
That's the central piece.
Yeah.
And are you going to expand with me? Right? Like, you going to expand with me? Because we got things to do. We got places to go. We got women to be well nourishing, and inviting them to do so. Thank you for being here. We are a minute over. I really want to be cognizant of your time. I adore you with the fire of 1,000 suns. I'm so grateful to have you in my life. Thank you everybody for being here, for your energy, your collective care. Steph, thank you for you.
Tanya, thank you. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much.
All
Have a
right.
good rest of your day. Take
Some of y'all join
care.
me later today. Bye.